Welcome to the Obesity Medicine Podcast with your host, Dr. Rentea, board certified in internal medicine and obesity medicine. Here, we talk about a path to metabolic health, and we have real conversations about chronic weight management and living a full life. Just a reminder, I am a physician, but I'm not your physician. So everything that's on this podcast is for informational purposes, but please go talk to your doctor about what's right for you. There is no medical advice being given on this podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I know I always say this, but today is truly going to be a quick episode because I have 10 minutes and that's all we got, but I really wanted to record this episode. So I was listening to a podcast the other day with Stacey Bayman. She's actually a business coach that I followed for a long time, and she talked about this concept of collapsing your timeline. Now, she was talking within business. She gave the specific example where people want to join her program. She has these 6-month masterminds, think sort of accelerators for growing coaching businesses. So it's not really my jam right now, but she basically is helping people to grow and scale. And so you basically need to have proof of concept that you even have sold something to even get in the room with her, like to be able to be part of these masterminds. The thing that she was talking about is how people will want to join, but they'll say, well, I'm going to join in 6 years, or they'll say 3.5 years from now, that's when I'm going to join. And she sits there and she thinks to herself how they're allowing the painful part of the process, like those initial first few sales, the starting a business, like anyone who's listening that has started something. And by the way, we can take this in any capacity. Everyone has not started a business, but even let's say when you have a baby, like those first few months are extremely hard. When you get a pet, training them not to go in the bathroom in the house the first few months, like the beginning of most processes are very painful. And so when you allow endless time, it's just this pain is just prolonged and protracted. And sometimes it never gets better, right? Like if you don't properly train an animal right in the beginning, that's a disaster for life, right? We all kind of know that one person where it's like, your dog does what? And you just sort of, in your mind, you're like, how is that working up to this point? And there's this really well-known saying, I grew up my whole life hearing this, we take as much time as we give ourselves. And I have often found in life that if I give myself just hours and hours and hours to get something done, I don't really get productive, focused, and do it. And sometimes the more I have going on, the more I get done. In fact, right now, I'm in June when I'm recording this, beginning of June. I wanted to get all the podcasts done, recorded, edited, everything, and off to my copywriter through July because I have different vacations, different conferences, different things going on where I didn't want to have to worry about this. And I know the end of July, all our kids go back to school, and it's again going to kind of be a reset time for me. And so I knew I have to get out many more in a shorter period of time. So it's okay if some of them are 10-minute gems. By the way, you all tell me that you love that my podcast is not hours and hours because I can't handle listening to long podcasts. I use the time that I'm given and it always serves me well. You will take as much time as you give yourself. But what I really liked with her talking about collapsing the timeline, it's really looking at what is it that you want to achieve. I can't tell you how often, let's just take a metabolic health thing here for a second. So a lot of people that I work with are working on fat loss because they know that it's standing in the way of their blood sugar and other things. But a lot of the times the slow pace is not a problem. And you hear me talk about this a lot, but then there will sometimes come a time when someone has been at a certain spot for a really long time and they're frustrated by it. I'm a really big proponent of, if you have a lot going on, actually not making fat loss your top priority, because I just don't think that, I think it's very hard if you're very stressed out and there's lots of things happening at work, or like with me, when we went through the move and all these things, I actually intentionally with my coach, we decided my goal was emotional regulation and it was not fat loss. So we kind of put that on the back burner for a month or two. And I just decided, let me maintain, let me focus on, can I get my walk in if I can I do deep breathing exercises or whatever it takes, so that in all of that schedule changing, different environment, new setup, all this kind of stuff, new school, all the things, that I could stay regulated. So that was my goal. But when we talk about achieving other things, I can think about times when I've given myself all the time in the world and it hasn't worked out. So sometimes it's not the most loving thing to say, well, I'm just going to see what's possible. And I just go super slow and nothing's ever happening. Like, you need to get more protein, but you're like, well, I'll just see. And you don't ever really put pedal to the metal, that really get it done mentality, get it done today mentality, like she was talking about in the episode. And I want to for you to propose to yourself, what would it look like if I massively collapse this timeline? So for example, I just had a visit today with a patient, and one of the things that we talked about, this person, despite being on a max dose of a medicine, they are having the return of some urges and cravings. And my first question is always, what's going on with your water and your protein? There's always a million other things, and there's emotional regulation and other things. But so water, this person's going to be increasing. But number two, they did the audit, which of course is always annoying, but brings massive awareness. And they were getting 50 grams of protein when their goal is closer to over 100. We actually have a goal of 120 for this person, grams of protein per day. So you can imagine if your body needs, for muscle maintenance in fat loss, if it needs 120 grams of protein, probably for it to optimally be holding onto your muscle and making you feel okay, suppressing ghrelin, doing all the hunger hormone things, all the things we talk about all the time. If you need that and you're getting 50, it's a miracle that it's like you're running on empty. Of course your body is doing urges and cravings. It needs you to eat more. It wants you to, it's like, it's actually very lovingly trying to do anything possible to get you to have that intake, because it doesn't know how to communicate that to you. So all it says is, hey, let's increase urges and cravings because we think if she's going to eat more food, maybe then she'll get some protein in. Part of collapsing the timeline, like a roadblock for this person was, but it's so much food. And what I went over was, okay, if we got one Premier or Fairlife drink, that's 30 grams of protein. This person already liked doing that. And then I said, okay, and if you get chicken and if you get a Greek yogurt, those three things are already going to get you to 100. So 3 ounces of chicken, that one protein drink, and one Greek yogurt, is that too much volume-wise? And suddenly this person saw, oh my gosh, that's not it at all. So part of collapsing the timeline is like, we're not going to take 100 years to get to 100 grams of protein. It does sound like it's doubling. It does sound like it's a big feat. But by the way, this person has the advantage of having worked with me for over a year at this point, so they understand all these things and they can quickly get there. But what I want you to think about for yourself is, what if you stopped giving yourself all the time in the world and success was only an option, but you had to do it in less time? How would you troubleshoot it? What would you do today? What are the things that you just cannot tell yourself anymore, that you cannot allow, that you can't have these excuses flailing around and not question yourself? So I want you to think about, what is it where I'm allowing all the time in the world and it's not helping me? I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm stuck. I'm in the same spot year after year. What is it? Does it actually matter to me? Do I want to solve it? How can I collapse down this timeline? And you end up sometimes getting much better results when you're really focused on things. It doesn't mean we need to take massive action. That's not what I'm talking about. We don't need to take messy, dirty, unfocused action. But whatever it is that you actually want to achieve, collapsing the timeline might mean today I'm going to get 100 grams of protein no matter what. I'm going to sit down in calm and peace and figure out what's the math that could make this happen. Like if I get these 3 things in, I already know I'm at 100 done, right? The rest of it is bonus. You know you're even going to get more protein based on other things you're going to eat that day, but you dropped that drama moment in your mind of saying it's going to be so much volume, I can't get this done. You don't allow for all that extra noise because you're collapsing down your timeline. So that is what I want you to consider for yourself. This is not me suggesting rapid fat loss. That's not what I'm talking about. But sometimes we need to get more focused on what is actually going to move the needle for me. If I had to get this done in a shorter amount of time, if I had to actually get the protein in, if I had to actually get the water in, what strategies would I make today? Like if I stopped screwing around with this, I didn't say, oh, every day I'm not getting my water. It's like, look, I'm going to fill up that water bottle in the morning. I'm going to stick it in front of me. I'm going to make an alarm hourly. I'm going to put a Post-it note. I remember back in the day when I was working in primary care for all those years, I had a habit of, I would come in with my coffee in a tumbler. I would come with some type of a 0-calorie flavored something. And then the third thing, I would fill up from the water cooler that we had, a water for the day. So I had 3 drinks every single morning. And I actually didn't even physically sit down at my desk that first moment without doing that first. Like that was my 1, 2, 3. I was the first one in the office. I was coming in at like 6:30 in the morning. I would put the lights on. I would get my drinks good to go. Then I would log onto my computer and do all the other things. That's why I've gotten to the place. I was at a conference the other day, and someone was kind of joking that I'm the hydration queen, because they're just like, you always have your drinks. Like you always do it. And yeah, because it's really worked for me. It's the bedrock of a lot of what works for me. Then I get the protein and all the other things, but it's because it's come out of like really building some habits out of that. So I'm going to end this here today. I want you to think about how you can collapse your timeline, what that can look like for you, what is required, and how can you actually spend a whole heck of a lot less time on what you're doing. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk soon. That marks the end of today's episode. But if you're newer to the podcast, I want to tell you about something that we have, and it's a free podcast roadmap. So this is perfect for any of you that are listening where you want to be directed to very specific episodes. So let's say that you are just starting out and you want to know, what should I do right when I start on the medications? Or you're experiencing certain side effects on the GLP-1s, or you want to know what to do if you're in a plateau, or if emotional eating is taking over, or if hunger levels are high. So we have many different categories of episodes that we've talked about, because there's a lot at this point. So if you want to be able to navigate that very easily, we have it broken down by category, and also the episodes that are there, and we hyperlink to everything. So you can just click on it and find the episode, easy peasy. If you want that, you can go to renteaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. We'll have it linked right here underneath the show notes where you're listening. And you can go ahead and get that free resource so that it makes it easy for you to navigate, because I know that it's really hard when someone has an established podcast. I am such a podcast fiend. I'm listening to podcasts all day long. And when I find one that I love, but there's a lot that are out there, I am so lost. So I hope that you enjoy this free podcast roadmap. Again, the link to get to that is going to be renteaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. I hope this is helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.